Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
Today, we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a video about smashing things, a book about talks all about coyotes, and I have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Kevin Ringstaff.
Well, hello. Don't forget Ponce de Leon, my lovely cat joining us today.
Cool. Well, Kevin is a grief support expert that specializes with pet loss. Well, today we're going to start off with the video game of the week, and this is going to be a smash.
And now it's time for the video game of the week.
Today's video game is Smashing Simulator X. This game is made by Banana Studios. Because it's on Roblox, you are able to play it on PC, Mac, Xbox, and even your cell phone. And it is free.
Everyone loves free.
That's right. And this is the only game made by Banana Studios Simulators.
The only game, huh? How do you think they came up with that name? It's a fun name.
But first off, when you start the game, you are in a city, and there is a sign that says click to throw things. So when you click, you throw an object that is in your hand, and it hits stuff. There are lots of things to hit, like garbage cans and trees, and even cranes. So each time you destroy an item, you get XP for it. You also get some cat coins for every time that you hit something. There are bonus awards for hitting metal or wood items. You can take that money and buy upgraded items that you can throw, like barbells, dice, and even a banana. Where there are even updated places to go. Oh, and they got pets. They provide a multiplier for your attack. But now there are a few areas to spend real money, but they are not really pushed on you. You can teleport to the spawn for free and even use an auto throw without paying any real money. This is a great plus in my book.
Now, if only we could earn experience points for throwing things in real life. that would be a drastically different version of life.
Yeah, life would be so much different. People would be chucking rocks at each other.
I guess that's why video games are the best.
Well, my dad tried it, and we were neck and neck. Like neck to neck, all the way to 1 billion cat coins.
What was your favorite thing to throw?
That's a good question. Probably the dice.
Okay.
The dice is like 1,000 damage.
All right. There's some heavy dice.
Yes, that is. Well, I give Smashing Simulator X 9 out of 10 stars because I really enjoyed smashing things but throwing stuff at them. And I really liked that they did not push the real money upgrades on you. Great game.
Mm-hmm.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And now it's time for the book of the week, Getting to Know Nature's Children, Coyotes. This book is written by Caroline Greenland. Let me to the back of the book. In fact, Kevin, would you like to do the honors?
Why, it would be my pleasure. Everything you ever wanted to know about coyotes. This book describes the physical characteristics, the habitats, and the habits of coyotes.
Well, this is an AI book that's worth 0.5 points or half a point. It's rated for 5th grade and 5th month. This is a great series about everything nature. Well, this is an old book series, so they may be hard to find. Well, I know there are different versions of this book in print, but could not find this version anywhere. I know.
How did you find it?
My dad bought them on eBay.
Oh, well, you can always find things on eBay, I guess.
Yep. And these are not like my normal books. This is not fiction. Instead, this is more of a resource book, kind of like a dictionary, but instead it's all about coyotes. Well, if you wanted to know anything about coyotes, then this is the book to read. For those that don't know, coyotes are famous for their howling and being very fast and crafty chicken snatchers.
You have to be crafty if you're snatching chickens.
Yep. Now, I won't tell you everything, but this is a great resource if you want to know that the coyote can run up to 40 miles per hour, and they are great swimmers, so you are not going to outrun one. Unless you're Usain Bolt. Well, they use their tail as a rudder in the air to do very large jumps. Well, I keep getting to know nature's children, coyotes, 9 out of 10 stars because I really enjoy learning everything I ever wanted to know about coyotes, and it explained a lot of questions that I didn't even know I had. Well, I really like that you can tell them apart from a wolf because they have sharper ears and a much bigger tail. And now it's time for an interview of an interesting person. Today's guest is going to be so much fun. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Kevin Ringstaff.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. And Kevin is a grief support expert that specializes with pet loss.
It's a hard thing.
Yeah. So first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
It's an interesting experience. This is a very well-produced podcast so far, and it's interesting going from different cuts and different takes, and hearing the book of the week all about coyotes. I might check that out in the video game. That was also fun.
Thank you. Okay, so for my listeners that have no idea, what exactly is a grief support specialist?
Sure, I'd love to answer that. Well, when we lose something, it's very sad, right? It's very hard, and a lot of people don't have many people in their lives to talk with about this, right? And what I do is I'm just there for them, right? When you have no one else, and you're going through this hardship, when you've had a loss, when you're crying every day, every morning, right? You want to talk about it, and that's what I do. I show up and I listen.
So to explain to my listeners exactly what is grief.
Yeah, well, that's a kind of interesting question. Grief is the normal reaction to loss. Anything that we lose, whether it's it's a person or a pet or like a sports game, right? If your favorite team loses, it hurts, right? It's something else than what we expected and what we wanted. And grief is just how we react to it, however that is.
So how long does a normal person grieve?
Well, that's a tricky question too, because that's, it's dependent. It's different for everyone. We all go through grief different ways, and there's really no timetable on grief. Right? There's
so
there's
how
no.
long have you been doing this job?
For 6 or 7 years now. It's been a while.
Wow.
Since 2016, I've been working on this and building it and growing it.
That's 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what got you interested in working in this very unique field?
Well, I got into this field through having losses of my own. My first cat, Henry Fats Rothschild. This is Ponce de Leon, by the way. My first cat, Henry, ran away, and you don't have, and at that time I didn't really have people in my life to talk with who understood about that. And so I just held it all in, right? And that's not the way to go through grief. It's a lot harder for you and everyone else around you. And I eventually found better ways to express that grief. Writing about it, talking about it, and I wanted to bring that to other people, and that's how I started Pet Cloud.
So what is the best part about working as a grief support specialist?
Oh, just being there for people. And having them tell you it, having them tell you and say, like, I'm so glad you answered the phone. I'm so glad you were there. When I needed someone to talk to, you picked up and you answered. And the stories are great. I ask everyone to tell me stories about, their pets. And it's fun listening to them.
Mm-hmm. So does it take a lot of training to be able to do this job?
Well, yes and no. Like to do this particular job, yeah. But to show up for anyone in your life who is grieving, no. Right? Like you could do it, and it's not really that challenging or it's not that difficult to show up for someone in your life who's going through something. Like I'm sure you have lots of friends, in school and whatnot, and as life goes, people have losses. The grandparents they lose grandparents and pets, and everything like that. And if you have a friend who's going through that, you can just listen to them. And learning how to listen and not try to fix anything is 90% of what I do.
Mm-hmm. So you work with people about pet loss. Do people grieve for their pets like they would for a family member or a friend?
Yeah. It's the same. Grief is grief no matter where it comes from.
So what is the best way to help someone that is grieving a pet?
Well, we listen to them. Like we can't fix anything, right? We can't bring them back from the dead or anything. And the best thing that we can do is just, hi, how are you? And tell me about it. Are you okay today? And we check in on them day after day, making sure they're okay. Because it's it takes a long time to go through it. And to like adjust to life, without that love in your life.
So what is the one thing that people say to someone grieving that they should not say?
Oh, it was only a dog or a cat, or are you going to get over that? Are you still sad about that? It's all just dismissing what they're going through when we say that.
Yeah.
Right.
So kind of run me through it. What kind of tasks does a grief support specialist have to do every day?
Every day. Well, so since I'm the owner of the company, I wake up every day, I follow up with my members, and then I get on the phone and, call crematoriums and veterinarians and, people from all over the country to tell them about my service. And then my groups start in about 2 or 3 hours now. And then from then, I'm just going to be supporting members until 6 or 7 p.m. tonight.
Do men and women grieve differently?
Differently, yes. But we all grieve, right? We all express that grief differently, depending on how we were raised, right? Like, I was raised that, we didn't talk about grief at all. You didn't show it, didn't talk about it. And as an adult, that's exactly what I did. Don't talk about it, push it down, get through it, distract myself, replace it.
So what is the hardest part about working as a grief support specialist?
Not internalizing everything, not taking the grief home with you, right? It's not really my grief, it's other people's grief. And so I have to have a good self-care regimen to, let that go. For me, that's walking my dog, Sir William Broderick, my Old English sheepdog. Get to walk him 2 or 3 times a day.
So grieving is, very sad. Why would anyone want to make this their full-time job?
Well, that's a great question. Well, grief isn't all sadness. There's a lot of beauty in grief, right? When we lose someone, we have all that love that's still right here, like right in our hearts, and just nowhere to put it. And when we share it, when we talk about it, it's we share our stories, we share our love, and that's very positive. That's very uplifting, and it's sad too, right? It's sad, but it's not all the time sad.
Well, what is your greatest achievement while working in this field?
Probably paying myself a livable income. Essentially creating this from nothing, the whole industry. Not the whole industry, but you get the idea. It's making it into a company and trying to do it for a living. And, writing myself a check for the first time was very, rewarding. That was a great accomplishment.
Hmm. Well, who helped motivate or inspire you the most in following your dreams?
Oh, the most. That's a good question. No, I would have to say probably, well, my mentor, Dr. Wallace Seif. He started the Association of Pet Loss and Bereavement back in the 90s, a long time ago, and he taught me all about this. But I have to say, a good friend of mine who, encouraged me to get out and start this, to quit my full-time corporate job and to do this full-time.
Okay. What is the craziest situation that you have run into while working as a grief support specialist?
Well, that's a good question. Well, so I have a hotline that I run. So like a pet loss support hotline, and I get calls all the time. And not all the time are they opportune moments, right? And well, the other day I was cooking and I just shattered a glass and like cut my hand all up. So my hand is like got glass in it, is pulling, dripping blood everywhere. And I get a call, right? So I have to run and answer the phone call. And the whole time, the dog is throwing up and the cat is meowing in the background. And I'm sitting here just holding my hurt hand and sitting there on the call and just being present on the call. So that was a fun experience.
You're kidding me, right?
No, that happened.
Wow. So when you were a kid, what did you want to do when you grew up? Did you always know that you're going to work with grief?
Oh, no, wildly different. I'm a computer scientist. I do like programming and data analysis, and that's what I always thought I was going to be doing. Now, I was programming computers when you were your age, back when I was your age. And, I always thought I was going to be doing that. So this is like a wildly different turn.
So do you like video games because you program computers?
I used to play a whole lot of video games. Yeah, a whole lot of them, and programming them.
Wow, so you're a programmer as well. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
if you could think of one thing that would make your job easier, what would it be?
One thing that would make my job easier. That's a good question. Probably help. I'm a one-man show now, and I'm trying to grow this out nationally. To support anyone from anywhere calling in. Even like I have people in Canada and the UK and Australia and New Zealand too. So having other people who are trained and who could help out would help out a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, what advice should you give to my listeners if they want to grow up and work as fast as a grief support specialist?
Well, we don't have to grow up to start. Right? We can start like right now and just being okay with grief. Grief is not something that we have to run from. It's inevitable. Every single person will go through grief at some point. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we can just be okay with that, right now at your age, it's going to be a whole lot easier to deal with all the terrible and hard things that come up in life later on. Mm-hmm. So we can start now.
Well, what is the best reason for a kid to grow up and want to work in the field of grief?
It's to be able to support friends, family, loved ones, everyone around them. Once we know how to, support ourselves, once we know how to support other people, we become much more valuable. We become a better, person to have around and more of a trusted person to have around. Someone that when something happens, you're going to pick the phone and call that person, and that could be you.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you could go back 10 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
That would have been 2012. I would have probably told myself not to go to business school and to just start my business and just start it and work on it. I'd be 4 or 5 years ahead.
2012 was a hard year.
Yeah.
Especially for pets.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been smarter to start that business now.
Yeah.
But what was the first job that you ever had?
I worked at, it was a a greenhouse. Where they grow plants and sell them, and just potting plants, shipping them, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, was there anything you learned from that job that helped you to be a better grief support specialist?
Nope. No, that job was all about just watching things grow. And that was long before I'd ever thought about grief.
Okay. Well, what was the biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Biggest mistake I ever made? Yeah, I don't really know. I make so many small mistakes throughout my day, and I don't have any real glaring mistakes. I have regrets, things I would go back and do differently, making different choices. But, just going back and looking at, the choices I've made and seeing how they could be different, going forward, kind of like looking back and reflecting on who I am, who I was, forgiving the Kevin of, the past who made those mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just being okay with the Kevin of today.
Mm-hmm. So when you're not working as a grief support specialist, what do you do for fun?
Walk my dog, hang out with my cat. I do a lot of programming and maybe we'll watch a little bit of TV. That's about it.
So what is your favorite book to read?
Favorite book? The book I read most often is the Grief Recovery Handbook for Pet Loss. I don't know if it would be my favorite book, but it is the book I read the most often. I would say that my favorite book would be Think and Grow Rich. If you've heard of that book, that was very transformational, and I still pick that up from time to time. It was written back in the 1920s, about how to put something in our minds that we want to achieve, like building a company out of scratch or creating a podcast, for instance, and you bend all your will towards it, and then you do it. It's all about how to do all of that and grow to fruition that way.
Okay. Now can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show, but that one story, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Well, remember how I told you I run a support line, and I don't get calls at normal hours? Well, sometimes I answer the call when I'm on the toilet. And I've sat there and had an entire conversation with somebody who's just crying and grieving and going through the worst of it while I'm on the toilet. and they didn't know. And of course I finished long before, and I'm just sitting there. I can't flush or wash my hands because they're going to hear it on the phone call. So I'm just sitting there, just waiting until we're done.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
Well, about me?
Yeah.
I'm creating all kinds of products around grief. I'm writing a book on grief. Well, it's on pet loss, and I'm creating one specifically for the younger audience.
Smart.
I'm creating a board game on grief.
I'm probably going to want that.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, I think. I don't think no one's done it yet.
Well, do you have a website or Facebook for my listeners who want to follow you?
Yeah, it's a petcloud.pet, petcloud.pet. And that's our website for pet loss grief support and just community. We do virtual support groups that meet twice a day, Sunday through Friday. And just a whole community of people who just understand and get it. You're never going to hear any of those bad things on the network.
Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
How can I help friends, my friends? And, like to support anyone around you, no matter how old you are or how comfortable you are with it. When someone tells you they have a loss, the only thing you have to say is, "I'm so sorry." That's it. Right? There's nothing else. We can't say anything else that's going to make it better. We're just, I'm sorry. Were they special to you? We can ask about them and talk about them and let it be okay to not be okay, to not, to not be laughing. Let it be okay to cry. And that's it.
Thank you, Kevin, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Oh, I can. I love math. Thank you so much for having me on.
See Tiberius Law.com.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
Wait, you are not Chuck.
My dad can help when people get hurt. He loves to help people.
If you are ever injured at work or in a car accident, you should call my friend Chuck.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
That website again is cwsmithlaw.com.
Offices, Orlando.
Does it actually have that much W's?
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for helping me with Math Corners.
My pleasure.
Well, this week we're going to do some multi-step word problems. My dad is going to love to find yet another word problem for me to solve.
Most problems are multi-step.
True. Okay, here we go. On Thursday, the Meat King Market sold 210 pounds of ground beef. On Friday, they sold twice that amount. On Saturday, they only sold 130 pounds. How much more meat did they sell on Friday than Saturday? So, this is a lot easier than last week. First, I have to figure out how much was sold on Friday. That would be 2 times Thursday, so 420 pounds. Then I have to subtract 130 from that, and now you have 290 pounds as your answer. That was an easy one.
Hey, sometimes they're easy. Sometimes they're not so much.
Especially with the darn fractions and decimals.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kevin, do you now know all about solving multi-step word problems?
I know all about them. Every problem I ever have is multi-step. This is never simple.
Do. Well, my teacher says that I would use math every day. Do you use math in your job?
Not really. Which is surprising. I took an incredible amount of math to do computer science, and I haven't used any of that advanced math in one time, not even once in my job of programming. But I love math. Math is a lot of fun to do.
Math is fun. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for your help with Math Corners.
Yep.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about nobility. For me, I think nobility is remembering we are God's special possessions, acting in a noble way, showing courage and honor. Well, the qualities of nobility are goodness, virtue, honor, generosity, and selflessness. So this week, we did our 5th grade stores, and we got to sell our products to the other students. After all the grades had gone, though, I noticed that I had not sold enough to cover the cost of my loan. I was very sad. My classmates noticed I was visibly upset and collectively decided to make purchases of my Ninja Stars just to make sure I could cover my loan cost. This was very selfless since they could have purchased other items they wanted, but they noticed I was having a hard time and decided as a group to help ensure that I was able to cover my costs and even be able to support some of the other stores. Cash and Zoe bought larger amounts to get me over the goals. I mean, they were so generous with their hard-earned money. So, Kevin, did you see or use nobility at all this week?
That's an interesting question. I haven't thought a lot about the word nobility or any of the qualities around it. When you first said nobility, the first thing that came to my head was my dog, Sir William Broderick. My Old English sheepdog. Just watching him as he gets older, how he still gets up, still tries, still goes out, still has all that goodness about him, still has all that selflessness, and still just wants nothing else but just to be around me, just to be happy. And I think that's pretty noble.
We should always try and be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
We should.
And that's our show, folks. I'm going to thank the one, the only, the amazing Kevin Ringstaff.
Thank you so much for having me on. Me and Ponce de Leon, thank you so much. And, I wish you all the best.
You're welcome. And it has been so much fun talking with you today. I think we learned a lot about grief and how it can affect people all around us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone goes through it.
Give your website.
Oh, yeah. And for anyone who's interested, please visit our website. We're at petcloud.pet, petcloud.pet. And it's just a resource and a community for pet loss built by and for those who are going through it.
Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and like and subscribe. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy!